So today I'm going to be comparing 3 of the most transparent filaments that I know of. Not only to see which one is the most clear, but which one diffuses light better. Because this is for a very specific project use case. I mentioned this before, but I'm in the process of prototyping and designing these special recessed light fixtures. And they're not only lights, they have speakers in them too. So the covers have really unique kind of design requirements. What are these requirements? Well, first off, they need to be translucent to let light through but not be completely clear. This is for a couple reasons. 1, I don't want the cover to reveal the insides of the lights. And 2, I want there to be kind of this soft glowing quality to the light coming out of the fixture. The next requirement, they need to have holes for the speakers to let the sound through clearly without being muffled in any kind of way. Thirdly, they need to be somewhat flexible, and that's because they're held in by these small tabs. So if this part is too rigid, those tabs will snap off after the first use. And lastly, this is the reason why I'm redesigning the light I made in the first place, these need to be able to withstand some kind of reasonable heat, enough to prevent sagging and to keep the tabs kind of locked in and prevent deformation and all that fun stuff. Okay, now that we know what I'm looking for, let's test this out. I'm definitely not scientific here, so while I have done a test, most of this is just my thoughts and opinions and what I like the best. Before we put these 3 filaments head to head, let's actually meet the competitors. So first up, we have ELEGOO Clear PC Polycarbonate. This is dried the best I could. However, full transparency, I definitely didn't properly dry this. It needs higher temps than my Sunlu dryer can handle, so I did the best I could. I did about 12 hours at the 55 degrees Celsius max that the Sunlu dryer can handle. Since it printed well, I think it was dried enough, and I live in a dry climate, so there's less moisture in the air to worry about. All right, next up, PETG. I used VOXEL's PETG Pro. I dried it at 55 degrees Celsius as well for 8 to 12 hours, and it printed really easily, no issues at all. VOXEL's known for PLA, but I'm pretty happy with this clear PETG. Now finally, the filament I was most curious about, 3D Fuels Pro PCTG. And this is my first time using PCTG. A quick rundown, PCTG is kind of the bigger brother of PETG. So while PETG stands for polyethylene terephthalate glycol, I definitely practiced that. PCTG is polycyclohexylene holy moly, polycyclohexylene dimethylene terephthalate glycol. Not sure why I just did that to myself, but someone feel free to correct me on that pronunciation because, man, that's tough. Anyway, PCTG is supposed to be more impact resistant, potentially clear, and have better chemical and UV resistance. Okay, now let's dive into this test. Here's what I did. I put a tiny roll of green screen up, and I shined a spotlight on it from a few feet away and converted the image to black and white, just so I could focus on the light values without getting distracted by anything else. Doing this shows very harsh shadows on one side and very bright light on the other. And this is exactly what I'm trying to avoid in the actual design. So now, one by one, I put covers in front of the light and looked in my color grading software to see how that light changed exactly. The control, which is just the spotlight on the green screen, peaked at about 90 out of 100% on this brightness scale. This is with nothing stopping the light at all. Now we have PC. This came in at about 60, not very high, but that lower value means it's more even spread out lighting. It's a smoother transition from one side of the roll to the other. Next, we have PETG at about 65. A little more transparent, that means, because more light is being let through. And if I had to choose between these 2 light qualities, I'd go with PETG just because technically it's brighter and it's still soft enough in my opinion. Now, here's the new guy, PCTG. And honestly, it's pretty much the same as PCTG. It's at like 68. And at this thickness, all 3 are similar for diffusion, so they kind of all work. So now it comes down to other factors. So the PC, hands down, it had the best heat resistance. And we know this, I didn't test it, but we just know PC has great heat resistance and the long-term upside of being more durable. PC is just an insanely durable material, but the downside is it's rigid. These tabs could snap off after repeated use, and also it's harder to snap in the first place into the light fixture. If I dried it properly, maybe it would be clear, but I'm judging based on what I can actually do at home. I don't have a good enough dryer for PC, so I might not be using it for anything that really matters and pushes PC to its limits. PCTG is great because it's brighter than PC and in the middle ground for heat resistance. It's super flexible and tough, snaps in easily, and the tabs should last because it's more flexible than PETG. So PCTG wins for better light transmission, which means it's more transparent, but also a few other criteria like the flexibility and the slightly better heat resistance than PETG. All right, one last thing. I have some cool new maker projects coming up, so subscribe and watch for why I'm testing not just these new filaments, but in upcoming videos, I have a ton more filaments that I'm testing out. If you want me to test a specific filament, let me know in the comments. And if you've got a question, ask it. If you want to tell me that I'm awesome or terrible, go ahead. But overall, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.